Hi guys, ArchieLuxury. Go to f2bbs.com. www.f2bbs.com. The last bastion of free speech on the interweb. Hi guys, ArchieLuxury on the ArchieLuxury and the Paul Pluta channel. Today guys, I want to talk about something. How China killed the Vacheron ethos. That's correct, guys. I want to talk about the elephant in the room. And firstly, I'd like to thank the Chinese because they have so much. They have risen. The market for wristwatches was dying. They have jumped on board and embraced luxury consumer goods. Today, I'm wearing quick wristwatch check, Rolex Explorer 2. Okay, guys, what am I talking about? What's the proof? What am I speaking of? So basically, we're talking Holy Trinity brands. Vacheron Constantine is considered the grandfather brand. Patek is the king, Patek Philippe. And Audemars Piguet is the rising prince. Now, what's happened is Vacheron, it's a Richemont brand. These are the people who fiked up Panerai, fiked Cartier. They decided that many years ago, before this pandemic, before etc., they would pump in a lot of money into China advertising the Vacheron brand. Good idea. China's a growing market, growing middle class. Yes, there's a lot of people in China who are poor, but if a small percentage are middle class or aspirational middle class, aspirational super rich. So what's basically happened is, I'll give you a classic example, and you see this is just proof. China they're a newcomer to super luxury goods. They're a newcomer. They are a newbie. They're a newbie. Now, the oldest luxury market in the world is Japan. That's right. Japan is the oldest luxury market. So you can get a lot of insight if you look at how the Japanese luxury market developed. For example, when luxury goods became the rage, everybody wanted LV, Mercedes-Benz, BMW, they wanted Gucci, they wanted to show off, I've got a designer, I've got this, I've got that. And that's kind of how the luxury market starts. Then the luxury market, it eats this consumer paradise. Then all of a sudden it kind of gets sick. It's like any person who goes to a buffet, gorges themselves, eventually they will get sick. They just want to have a lie down. And when they come back, after they've had a vomit, they come back into the luxury market and they say, you know what? I do love my luxury goods, but I no longer need to show off and shove it in everyone's face. So, you know, what I will do is I gotta tell you, I'll get luxury goods, but luxury goods that don't look like luxury goods. For example, unbranded, you know, no longer LV or Dior or Yves Saint Laurent or Gucci stripes. Just go for low key. And, you know, that's when brands like Patek Philippe, Vacheron kind of shine, because they're not in your face, show off sort of brands. And I gotta tell you, it's an interesting development, because Vacheron itself, they've invested heavily in the Chinese market. So what's happened is, when a model is superseded or gets discontinued, if you look at Patek prices, Patek market, the discontinued one sort of, it never really dips. It becomes, some people really want it, they race out and get it because they want to add it to their collection. But in the Chinese type markets there, because they are so, it's a very new type of concept. They dump the old. They want the latest and greatest. They want to show they got the new one. It's a bit like Rolex went no holes case. In Asia, they did it on the Datejust. Well, it came out on the dates first, but it's mainly, you could see it in Asia. Everybody wanted the Datejust with the no holes case. They didn't want the holes case because that was the older one. And now, of course, many years later, everyone wants I think, oh, it hasn't got that stigma. But in that market, they wanted the latest and greatest. Now, I got to tell you, with Vacheron, have a look at the Vacheron Overseas. That's their sports watch. Sports watches are very cool at the moment. Have a look at the pricing on the Vacheron Overseas Gen 2 compared to Gen 3. Gen 3 on certain dial colors, the blue namely, is selling over retail. Have a look at Gen 2, which I actually think is a nicer looking watch, say a less desired color like white. It's selling pennies in the dollar. And that's a very interesting phenomena. Why is that so? Why is that so? And it's because Vacheron has put so much money into marketing in Asia. It's an immature luxury market. And instead of people saying, oh, that's the older generation, yeah, they're having respect for it, they want to pump and dump it and get the latest one to show off their wealth. And it's kind of like the old Asian mentality. The old Asian mentality used to be, we look after our ancestors, we had respect for our grandparents, we look up to our grandparents and our parents. In modern Korea, there's a great video on, I think it was Asian Boss or Vice, where basically people dump their grandparents in a ghetto and say, you fend for yourself, I had enough of you. And because there's new consumerism. So that's kind of what's happened there. If you look at Patek, see, Patek never really, they were always very skeptical with China. They kind of were very careful. And they kind of, you look at Patek, when a model becomes obsolete, it doesn't sink in price. It actually, sometimes it can go up. Sometimes it just hovers there. People have respect for the previous model. Classic cases with Pateks. You look at things like the 5070. It's actually more expensive than a 5170. And, you know, it's interesting. Many times with Patek, the obsolete model can become super collectible. So it's because the collector is old school. They're not new money. They kind of have respect for the previous pieces. And I mean, you look at some of the Pateks, say the world time. I'm a huge advocate for the world time. I got the 5110. The model before that, that's the one that was in the 60s. Guess what, Charlie? Guess what? They go for $1 million. See, in China, so I don't want the old model. That model will be worthless. You see? And that's kind of why you can see Vacheron has sold out to the Chinese market. And I'm not saying that's it's a gamble that Richemont took. They took a gamble because, hey, they're in business. They aren't a charity. You see what I mean there? They are not a charity. They are here to make moolah. They want money. They want money. That's what they're there for. They're not here as a profit. It's actually just cheap. That reference is the 2523 Patek. Compare a 2523 to a 5110. In China, that's old model. Nobody want. Well, actually, it's worth $1 million. See, so this is what's happened there. So, unfortunately, Vacheron has shafted themselves, because what it means is the previous models, they basically can become less desired. They become pennies in the dollar. Give you an example. I'm in Australia. I have a friend of mine who bought a Generation 2. It was naked, no box or papers. Long bracelet, white dial, Generation 2 overseas. He got it for 9,000, just over 9,000 Aussie dollars. What's that, about 7,000 US? 7,000 US for a really nice, smart Gen 2 Vacheron overseas. Yes. Yes, indeed. Absolute beauty. It's a beauty. It's a beauty. And Gen 3, they're 3 times the price. Is it 3 times as good? No. And then you have people, little smart asses, in the comment section will say, oh, well, Gen 2, it uses a ArchieLuxury based eBosch, and the Gen 3 was the in-house Vacheron. Okay, fair point. Have a look at Patek. Which Pateks in the grand complications are the super valuable? The Patek in-house grand complication, or the OMMANEY base? Novell, look at the catalogue, Novell OMMANEY. Okay, I rest my point. These people have no idea what they're doing. They have no idea what they're doing. They're morons. They've made a mistake. That's because it's an immature market. They want the latest and greatest to show off. To show off they have money. Whereas old money sort of says we want the older one to show we've always had money. See, a little bit of a difference there. The Chinese, it's a developing thing. It'll develop. It'll look, the Chinese market will develop like any other market. At this point, it's in its infancy. Okay. And remember, it's better to be nouveau riche than no riche at all. That's for sure. It's better to be nouveau riche than no riche at all. So there you go. That's how Vacheron got stuffed, because of the Chinese market. Tell me what you think, guys. Like, subscribe, tell your friends. Please sponsor me on Patreon. Please sponsor me on Patreon. Please, I need your help. Guys, look down below in the description, and please help me stay full-time on YouTube. Thank you, guys. See you in the next one. Hi guys, ArchieLuxury, and who do I recommend in America? In America, who do I recommend for quality pre-owned wristwatches? David SW, David SW, David SW. Go to davidsw.com. He is the best, the greatest pre-owned dealer in all of the United States of America. David SW, David SW, David SW. Hey guys, ArchieLuxury. Who do I recommend for watches in Brisbane and Sydney? Vintage Watch Co. That's correct. Vintage Watch Co. in Brisbane Arcade in Brisbane and the Strand Arcade in Sydney. Vintage Watch Co. Brisbane and Sydney. Ronnie, I've known him since the late 90s. Ronnie is a top bloke. Luke is a great guy. Vintage Watch Co. That is who I recommend in Australia. Check out Vintage Watch Co. and the guys' amazing range of watches. They also do service and repairs. Vintage Watch Co. That is where the pontiff goes. You know, some of my Pateks came from Vintage Watch Co. That's right, guys. Vintage Watch Co.